George Challenge.
Hello, I represent Heritage Vancouver, and I'll be reading from a letter which was circulated to members of the panel, members of the board. This is a copy of that in case it wasn't included in your package. The comments were directed to the mayor and council, and some or all of them we hope will have an impact on the development board. On behalf of Heritage Vancouver, we urge you to reconsider the Heritage Right Revitalization Agreement regarding the Lake residence, the one which was presented to council on behalf of the owner in May 2011. It is important that every option be explored to avoid the demolition of this highly significant A-listed mansion in the West End. And it is, as was mentioned, is one of 2 or 3 surviving buildings representing Zira. We do not believe that the current proposal responds to the directions that were given to the staff at the May meeting. It is clear from the minutes of the meeting that the intention was not to reject the HRA, but rather to give the proposal further consideration. And from the intention or from the direction that staff be directed to consider further options for the heritage designation and heritage agreement, which might include the retention of a large tree shared with the neighbor, given the willingness of the adjacent owner to cooperate in its retention. The owner of this property has stated willingness to proceed with the HRA if council is interested in proceeding in this direction. According to city staff, we understand that it would require only one councillor to request that the HRA be reconsidered and bring that project forward, which is now on hold. We urge you to act swiftly and request that the HRA that would save this landmark heritage building be revived. If the house is demolished, it will be the first A-listed building to be demolished since the medical dental building was torn down in 1989. And that led to rather significant outcry and led to strengthening of the heritage preservation within the city. Heritage BC has just written a letter, which I don't have a copy of, but which is the contents of, which has been also addressed to the mayor and the council. They feel the repercussions will extend through the city but beyond into the province, and will set heritage conservation back at least 20 years if this building is demolished. Therefore, we ask the board to make every effort to preserve this significant example of heritage for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Mr. Tyler, you have a question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chalice, for coming, and thanks for staying at the podium. I'm trying to recall, I think it was Ms. Leduc who was at council when the HRA was considered on behalf of Heritage Vancouver?
Yes, that's correct. And
we do have the letter that you referenced as well. My recollection was that Heritage Vancouver supported the HRA, including the additional density as the mechanism for preserving the heritage house at the time. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And at the time, we weren't saving the tree, unfortunately, because we didn't have the ability to preserve the root ball, and the underground parking for the larger building was going to eat into the root ball rather substantially, as I recall. Was there discussions at Heritage Vancouver about the HRA's conclusion that both the tree and the house couldn't be preserved within the context of that original proposal?
We didn't get into that kind of discussion, considering, as you and your staff have mentioned, the extreme complexity of the project. We consider that the house is absolutely unique.
And as do we. I certainly hear and agree with the limitation about the loss of the heritage house. What is the Heritage Vancouver's position or feelings around the tree?
Once again, we're interested in buildings and the heritage of the city, and buildings, trees, social heritage. When there are only 3 buildings of this type, 2 or 3 buildings of this type in one area remaining, and there are many trees of very fine quality, I would think that most of the people in Heritage Vancouver would be in favor of saving one of those buildings.
And I think the staff's perspective was if you could save only one, although, as I said to the other speaker, that wasn't the situation wherein the house was the priority, as I recall, in the original HRA. Thank you for coming. We're not, the board isn't in a position to change the conditions of the development and put back the density in. But when Heritage Vancouver sort of reiterates some of the tone of commentary of a previous speaker that says we should do everything we can to preserve it, preserve the building, are there any other suggestions that you might have?
No further suggestions beyond reviewing, going back to the intention of the direction, and going back to reconsidering it. In other words, comparing these two schemes and looking at and therefore making the effort to preserve the house.
And so of the two schemes, the HRA that council saw and the scheme that we're seeing, you prefer the former?
We prefer the former in that it's the one that preserves the house.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
if there can be one that does both, fine. There have been many arguments where that implying that is really not feasible. Respect that.
Thank you again for coming.